Set in the 17th century France, our story begins with Jean-Bal Bernier, an illegitimate child born to a monk and a humble cook. Her birth, a product of forbidden love, seemed to doom her to a life in obscurity. Jean's mother, Anne, worked as a maid for Monsieur de Mousse, a kind man who took pity on the young girl. He offered Jean a proper home and education, fostering her keen intellect. However, due to her illegitimacy, he couldn't publicly acknowledge her as his own. To shield her from the world's harsh realities, de Mousse sent her to the convent of Saint Era. Life in the convent, however, quickly became stifling. Jean secretly delved into forbidden books, discovering tales of the outside world's pleasures, desires, and temptations. When the nuns discovered her secret readings, she was expelled, forced to return to de Mousse's home. While he welcomed her warmly, Madame de Mousse, fearing Jean's beauty might captivate her husband, accused Anne and her daughter of theft and cast them out. Left with nothing, they moved to Paris. There, Jean's sharp mind secured her a position as a reader for Madame Lagarde, a widow with 2 sons. But once again, desire led to her downfall. Jean was discovered in bed with both brothers, resulting in her dismissal and a return to the streets. Instead of shying away from scandal, Jean embraced it. By adulthood, she had become one of Paris's most sought-after courtesans. Among her many admirers was Count Guillaume du Barry, who introduced her to aristocratic circles. Captivated by her charm, the Duke of Richelieu proposed that she be presented to none other than King Louis XV himself. Jean had no say in the matter. Though she had grown weary of being treated as du Barry's trophy, she remained with him out of love for his son, Adolphe. But the Count's cruelty only intensified. One night, furious at finding her reading instead of resting, he plunged her into a bathtub, mocking her as nothing more than an ignorant prostitute. Still, fate had other plans. The king's servant, Laborde, was soon sent to fetch Jean, with payment offered to du Barry as compensation. Versailles awaited her. Before entering the royal palace, Jean was trained in manners and etiquette. When she inquired if she could also be taught to speak eloquently, Laborde replied coldly, "The king has no interest in hearing your words." Finally, she was brought before Louis XV. Nervous, Jean tried to mask her fear, but when she noticed how much he resembled a 6-franc coin, she couldn't help but laugh. To her surprise, the king laughed with her, and in that moment, her destiny as the king's new courtesan truly began. The following day, things took an unexpected turn. Rather than dismissing her as a fleeting distraction, the king placed Jean in a secluded chamber, a vantage point from which she could secretly observe his daily routine. From dawn till noon, she watched the rigid formalities, endless protocols and ceremonies that defined the monarch's life. Every so often, Louis would glance her way, sometimes as if seeking her silent support, other times sharing a hidden smile at the absurdities of court etiquette. Once the elaborate morning ritual ended, members of the royal family departed from the king's chamber, walking backward, for it was strictly forbidden to turn one's back on him. Only Jean enjoyed that rare privilege. When finally freed from his obligations, Louis hurried to her side, presenting her with a splendid necklace along with a request that changed everything. He wished for her to remain in Versailles permanently. From then on, Jean, under the discreet guidance of Laborde, attended the king's private events in secret. It was then she noticed something striking. The king's daughters were always visible, watching closely while the queen remained absent, her silence a quiet testament to years of enduring her husband's infidelities. Yet before Laborde could explain further, the princesses nearly stumbled upon their father's new companion, forcing Jean back into the shadows. After the queen's passing, Louis's bond with Jean deepened. But grief-stricken, his daughters soon confronted him about whispers that a woman of questionable reputation was roaming the gilded halls of Versailles. Pressed for an answer, Louis admitted that he did see a woman now and then, but claimed she was married and had a son, dismissing the matter as harmless. The truth, of course, was only half-spoken, and his daughters were not deceived. Still, Louis was determined to elevate Jean's place in his world. Knowing she could never be formally accepted at court without a husband, he persuaded du Barry to marry her in exchange for a handsome reward. Thus, Jean became the Countess du Barry. Yet titles meant little to her. What mattered was learning the customs of the court, a challenge she embraced with Laborde's guidance, rehearsing every detail of the life she was soon to face. Her grand debut came in dazzling fashion, draped in a magnificent gown, the knee.